Okay, we're going to continue with our gradebook app. This is a presentation that shows how to do the delete a grade requirement for the assignment. So I actually did this in class, but if you were in the first section, I didn't have it running at the end of class, and in the other section I did a lot better. And I kind of got to a point where I had coded myself into a corner and I had to basically revise what I was doing. And so let me explain what happened. Originally my idea was to just go ahead and write out conditional logic to write the new record to the file and skip the column. Well, you know the columns have to be separated by commas, and it became obvious that the logic for doing that was sort of complicated, and it's really similar to something in computer science where you deal with a list. So for instance, if we end up deleting the last grade in the set, then we don't want to put a comma at the end, and that just makes it real difficult to do the logic. So what I decided to do instead was, once I have the grades loaded, I would create a temporary array list just for each row of the file and then write that out. And that makes it a lot easier to skip the column that you don't want to write. So I'm going to start like I did before, and I notice this is very similar to the add grade method. So I'm going to copy the code. And I'll put the code down here at the bottom of the method so we have our pseudocode. Real quickly, let's just go over the pseudocode. So this is very similar to the add grade method that we already did. The user picks the class that they want to do with the JFileChooser. We display the class and confirm that that's the one that they want to delete a grade from. And of course, if they don't, if they've picked the wrong class, then we return and we don't do anything. And that'll return us to the menu in the application. Then we generate a new menu which just shows the grade item names. And initially I won't do this, I'll just show a number for the columns. But then we'd want to refine that and make the interface better by actually showing the names of the column elements. We might get that done. We'll get our delete choice. Again, we'll ask to confirm before we do the delete, and if they say no, they don't want to confirm, then we'll return without doing anything. Then we'll go ahead and perform the deletion. And the way we're going to do that, as I mentioned, is I'll build an array list on the fly for each record, each line of the file, and that just makes it simpler to do. Okay, let's start by getting the add grade code and pasting it back in. So I'm going to go to the navigator. If I can get it up, there we go. Go to add grades to set, that's the name of the file. And let's go ahead and minimize that. And then we'll just copy the code block, Control C. And I'll just jump back to the navigator. And I want the delete column, which is the one that I'm working on here. And then I'm going to paste it in. Now it's going to paste extra braces in, so we're going to get rid of those immediately so we don't get confused about that. And because I had some trouble last time, I'm going to let's see, is that right? Yeah, there we go. I'm going to be a little bit more careful this time, so I'm going to probably rename some of my variables and things like that. Okay, so looking through here, we want to pick the class set, display it, confirm the choice. I think all of that's already done for us. So if we skip down through here, here's where we open the file chooser and we get the class file. And notice this new code here that, let's see, is that right? Chooser set current directory class file. No, that's actually my old code. So let me stop for a second. Okay, so I just went back into Blackboard and grabbed the code Dan Glover, who's a student in Section 2, found the code to fix the issue with the drive, so you don't have to go through the directories all the time. And I'm going to go ahead and paste the code in here, and I'll have to go back and add it in to the add method. So let me just go ahead and format this, and then I'll explain here what's going on. So I was experimenting and I didn't get this done, and then Dan did some research and found it. So this file, working directory equals new file system get property user directory, that will get the current directory, and then we'll set that to be the current directory. Let's see, variable working directory is already defined in method delete grade column. Oh, I already have this somewhere. Hang on a second. Okay, I see what's going on. So actually I already had this up here. I just missed it. Alright, so I didn't have to stop the video and do all that. Let's see now. So let's go ahead and just delete that. There we go. Alright. Well, we're off to a good start, aren't we? Okay, so the user picks a file. We go ahead and set a scanner on InFile to read the file, and then we read the file header, and then we loop and get the names, and that's going to let's see. No, I'm sorry, we're not looping and getting the names. That's old code. Let's get rid of that confusing comment there. That system out print line format header display there prints the header of the table. So I went over that in class and in the last videos. And I'm going to go ahead and remove this code that I'd left to show you how I replaced it when I kind of factored it out and created that method. So that's going to format the header display. And then now here's something I want to change. You see how this is called names? That's a little confusing now. And really what that is those are the lines of the file with the exception of the header. So let's change that to lines. Okay. And then now here's the confirmation, and we just need to change the message. So it says, is this the class you want to enter grades for? Now we're deleting. So is this the class for which you want to delete a grade? Alright, so again we ended up getting a lot out of this code that we'd already written, and it's important to be able to look at the code at that level where you can see the similarity in the patterns. Really all of programming is patterns, and so it's like language. So once you see the pattern in the logic, you can write the same logic in different types of programming code, you know, Java, JavaScript, whatever. Alright, let's see, get the column label to add to the header. We're not doing that. That's basically code that we don't need from the method that we copied. So when we were adding the grade, we had to get the name of the new header. Alright, here's a reference to names. Again, we changed that just now, so I'll have to change that to lines. And I'll expect that I'll have another reference in here too. Okay. Now, let's see what this is doing. I probably changed something I don't even need. Oh yeah, so this is the code that reads in the grades. We don't need that anymore, so we can delete all of that as well. Alright. Alright, now we're at the point where the code that we copied writes the file out. And let's change this to lines, although we're probably going to recode all of that too. Alright. So now let's just go back up and take a quick look at our pseudocode here. So again, this is real similar to the add grade, and so the pick a class set display, confirm the choice, and so now we're at the point where display the menu of grade item names. Now actually, to get this running and using an agile approach, I'm already displaying all of these elements, so really I can leave this and refine it for now. So basically we've done all of this. So we want to get the delete choice now, confirm it, and then perform the deletion. And that's all going to go before we write the file. So all that code is going to go in here, and then this code continues with the writing the file out. Let's see here. This is the else. If they didn't choose a file, we can leave that. And the error messages should be okay too. Okay. So again, now just to add in here, get the delete choice, confirm it, delete the grade, and then write out the records. Okay? Alright, so get the delete choice. So basically that's going to use our getRangedInt. So we can say int call to delete equals getRangedInt. We're using our method. We're using in here for the scanner. This is going to be the prompt. And then we'll have the low and the high value. And the low value here will be 1. And this is really important. You have to keep track of your data set and how it works. So for every line of our file, the first element is a string. On the header, that's the name of the class. So Miss Johnson's third grade lock picking. And then for the student records, it's the student name. So the 1 here represents the second column, which is the first grade column. Now the last part here should be the final grade column, and so we have to figure out how to do that. Let's go ahead and do we have a sample up in here? No, let me just do that in line to show you how that works. So let's go ahead and just create a comment that shows a sample grade item here. So we'll say, how about 5th grade pyromancy, which is predicting, that's divination using fire. And then we'll have sample, grades here. So 67, 83, 56, whatever. I'm just typing some numbers in. Okay. So that's a sample record from this, and so again you notice that the first element, which has an index of 0, is the title. And whoops, I made a mistake. Sorry, this should be a name, right? So Drogo Floggins. Okay, so again a name and then the 3 grades. So index 1 is the first grade. And now what is this? In this case it's 3, so 0, 1, 2, 3, and that's actually the length of the array, which is 4 minus 1. So again, this is 0, and 1, and 2, and then 3. The total length is 4, so length minus 1 is the index for our last one. And so now what we have to do is figure out where we have that. Let's see here. So I don't think we split that off yet. Yeah, so I have to split that into an array so I can get that length. So, and it doesn't matter if we do that on the header or on a regular record, a student record. Okay, I'm pretty sure we did read the header in. Yeah, right there, file header. So let's go ahead and split the file header temporarily here. So we'll be able to compute what the length is. So let's see here. This is going to be a string array. So string, and I'm going to use fields. Let's see, is that a good idea? No, let's use columns. So string columns array equals, and then this is going to be file header dot split, and we're going to split it on a comma. Okay, so then this is going to be calls dot length minus 1. Okay, again, it doesn't matter if it's a header or not. So if this is a header, let me just type that in up above here. It's going to have the same number of fields. This will be the class title, and then these are the column headings. So call 1, call 2, etc. Right? So it doesn't matter which line of the file I use to figure out. Whoops! What the hell happened there? Okay. So again, you can see that if I take either one, it doesn't matter. So this will have the same number, a length, and then the length minus 1 gives me the last one. Okay, so column to delete, get ranged in. Then here we have which grade do you want to delete? Okay. Alright, that looks pretty good. Alright, now we want to confirm it. So we'll have an if get yn confirm. Again, this takes the scanner in and then the message. Okay, now this is kind of cool. Basically, we don't have to use the menu, but we can actually use the fact that we already split the file header to show the name of the column. Okay, so let's do this. Are you sure you want to delete plus calls square bracket call to delete plus oh, I don't think we have to add the question mark in. That the method will do that for us, so that should be good enough. Let me put a space in there just to make sure. I don't want to go check the confirm function quick here just to save time, so I'll just go ahead and run it. Okay, now so basically this is going to be, if not confirmed, that means the user said no. So then we just want to say Alt tab return into menu and then do a return. In this case, return just exits the method. So when you have a void method like this, when you return, it just says leave and go back to the calling code. Okay, then now we're going to continue. We'll go ahead and delete the grade, and this is the part that I kind of messed up in the morning section, and I got this correct in my second section there. Let's see, unreachable statement. That's actually not true. Okay. I wonder if I have my comments or blocks off here. Let's see. Ah, damn it. There we go. That's bugging me a little bit here, but we'll see what happens. It doesn't seem like it really should be unreachable. It almost seems like it's reading the return as absolute. I wonder if I have a comma, a semicolon at the end of the F here. Yep, sure enough. See, that's a mistake. So then the return runs every time. So there we go. Alright, so now we want to delete the grade. Now, basically, instead of deleting the grade, what I want to do really is just skip it when I write it to the disk. So let's just kind of look at our code here. So we have the out file, which we open to write to. It's a print writer. And then we write the column. We're not going to do that anymore because we want to treat the column as just another line in the file. In fact, one of the things I have to do is I have to add that header back in because I read it into a separate variable. So I have file header that has the header, and then I have this array list called lines that has all the student data. So the first thing we want to do is, just for convenience, so we don't end up writing two different batches of code, one to write the header and one to write the lines of the file, is add that back into lines. So lines dot add, and then we want to add it as the first position, 0, file header. Okay. So now lines contains not just the student data, but the first element, which is the file header. And because we're not processing those numbers here specifically, we're reading it all as strings, it doesn't matter. Okay? Alright, now, this is going to be a little confusing because we're not really deleting anything. We're simply not copying it when we write out the file. So we'll come on down here. And this, let's change this to li, short for line. So for the current line in the lines file. Now if we do this, that'll just write it out as is, but we can't do that. So what we have to do is we have to break each line up. And so let's go ahead and we need to create another array list. Now I'm not fond of creating things in loops, so I like to create things outside of repetitive code. So just a moment here. Okay, so I'm going to need another array list. Oops. Is that capitalized? I think it is. Yeah, array list. Oops, what am I doing? Not a comment. This will be type string. There we go. Array list string cur line. And we don't want to initialize that yet because we're going to do that in here. And so now this is kind of weird because the first thing I want to do is I want to clear a cur line. And the reason for that is as I go through the loop on the subsequent passes after the first, I want to empty the array list and then put the current line into it. So cur line dot clear will remove all the elements from it. And of course, the very first time there aren't any yet. Okay, that's all right. All right, what's this issue here? Oh, I forgot I have to initialize it. Okay, so sorry. Do that up here again, outside of the loop. I did have to initialize it. So Arraylist string curline equals new Arraylist diamond notation, and then parens. There we go. Okay. Alright, then we clear the loop, and of course the first time it's already clear, but then after that it won't be. And then now we want to go ahead and read the line into the array list. And so I'll use my splitting method again. And here we go. We got columns, so we're going to reuse columns. So since this is a reassignment, we don't have to worry about clearing columns. So here we go. Calls equals, whoops, lie dot split. Let's see, am I doing this right? Single lines. I don't think that's right. Yes, yes. So lie is a string. It's in the array list. Now we're going to split the string into another array list. So that's lie dot split on the comma. There we go. Alright, so now columns has the information we want it to go in. So now we'll write a little for loop inside here that goes through the columns and copies everything to the new array list curline except the column to delete. So we'll just do that real quickly here. So for, let's see, int call equals 0 while call is less than calls dot length call plus plus. There we go. Put a block in there, and then if call is not equal to call to delete, we'll copy it in. So what I'm doing now is I'm going through the lines of the table, each column which represents a grade, except for the first one, of course, that represents the name. And we'll never delete that one. It doesn't matter. There's no point in writing separate code to deal with it. And then we're adding that in. So now this is going to be curline dot add, and then this is going to be calls dot calls square bracket column. There we go. And so basically this will copy every column to the current line array list. Alright. And then now we're ready to write it out. And that'll go in the for loop too. So let's copy this, or delete this. Copy and delete, sorry. So Control C to copy, Control X to delete. Move up here. Let's add a little comment to make it clear what we're doing. Now write the, let's see, is that right? Oh no. No, actually I'm wrong about that. That's going to be right here. So I shouldn't have moved that. Alright, let me just back up and Control Z. Yeah, that was in the right place already. However, we can't write it out like that. We need to basically write it out to format the file. which means we have to stick the commas in there. Okay, so basically, let's see now. Clear. I'm going to add a string variable for this called formatted line. Okay. Let's make that formed line. I'm lazy, I don't want to type. Okay. Okay, so now we're just going to do the same thing, and I'm going to copy this let's see, is that right? Yeah. Yeah, let's just copy this and change it. So Control C, Control V. Now this is not going to go through columns. Instead, it's going to go through the current line array list. So basically, for column equals 0, while column is less than cur line dot size column plus plus. Okay, and then as long as let's see here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a formed line and write it to the file. So I have to set the form line in the loop to be empty. Formed line equals this. And now we'll create the form line, and then we're going to write it out. So down here we're going to write the form line. Okay? Alrighty. And then this is just to check to see if it's the last column or not. So we say formed line equals, or plus equal, sorry, plus equal. Let's see, cur line, oops, dot get, and column. Good. I like it when NetBeans picks up the index that I want. Okay? And then if column is not equal to cur line dot size minus 1. In other words, if it's not equal to the last one, we want to add the comma there. So formed line plus equal the comma. Oops. There we go. I've been putting a space in there too, just to make the file readable in case you open it into an editor. Alright, let me just run back through this. This is pretty complicated. So I think this is pretty clear. I asked the user which ones they want to delete. I got to confirm. And now I add the file header back into my lines array list. So this array list represents the rows of the file. And now to do the deletion, I have to go across each individual row. So I go ahead and create my output writer here. And then I make a new array list to go across there, and I'm calling that current line, so I'm real clear about what that is. So that's a single line, and the array list contains the columns for that line. And here it's just empty, and then I'm going to build it in this for loop. So for each of the lines in lines, I'll clear the current line, and the first time that doesn't matter. But after the second time, see, I don't want to just keep adding each line to the array list. I only want one line at a time in this cur line array list. Then we split the, let's see, where do we set columns up here? Columns equals li split. Oh, right, yeah. So columns is an array of strings. Here we're feeding the array and setting it to be equal to the individual columns that are in this line here, which is really the line I'm working on from the set. Let's see, in lines, good. And then we go through and we copy each one of the columns except the one that we want to delete to the current line array list. So now current line array list has what I want to write to the file. Now I create a formed line and I write that to the file down here. And what that does is it just goes through the current line and adds the comma in, and it just checks for the last to make sure it's not the last column. So we don't want to put a comma at the end of the line, right? And then we go ahead and close the file. So this should work. Let's go ahead and test our code and see if it's going to work. And that's cool. I got this done in a half hour. It took me an hour and a half to write this initially in class, and I got it wrong the first time. Okay, here we go. Whoops, did I? Oh, there it goes. Seems kind of sluggish here. Okay, there's our menu. So we want to delete a grade. So we'll go to 4. And of course that'll open the file chooser behind NetBeans. And notice it's in the Gradebook app, so the code that Dan found to make this work better is definitely working. Alright, let's see here. Let's try the second grade lockpicking. I'm afraid I might only have, let's see. Okay, this will be interesting. I'm not sure what will happen if I try to delete a single row. It should work though. Okay, so basically here I only have the choice of deleting the assignment 1. So I'll say yes. And then it says, and notice the range is 1 to 1. So I can only put 1 in here. And then I want to say, yeah, I'm sure. I want to go ahead and delete this. And then now I want to display it to see if it did the deletion. And notice it comes right back up. Second grade lockpicking, open. And because it doesn't have any grades now, it's showing that. So it worked fine. So we've got it working. And that's really good. Alright. So I'm going to end this video here. I hope this was helpful. Because I was coding live in class, I kind of flailed around, and I think this is probably going to be a little clearer for you. So you should be able to now complete the final lab for the course. Hope you've enjoyed the course. I look forward to having you in Computer Programming 2 in next semester. Have a good holiday. Take care.